The Life and Times of famous orator Margaret Sanger. It is 2022, and many women have access to a full range of birth control methods. They have the ability to get a prescription from a doctor, health clinic, or local Planned Parenthood health center. For some, access to birth control is just a click away online and shipped straight to their door. However, it is easy to forget that there was once a time when matters surrounding family planning and women's healthcare were not spoken about in public. That was until women like Margaret Sanger decided to change that. Described by some as a radiant rebel, Sanger pioneered the birth control movement in the United States at a time of oppression when moral standards were at their highest. Sanger was a feminist and social reformer in the early 20th century, who was outspoken and had the attitude that the only way to change the law was to break it. With her strong beliefs and mindset, Sanger pioneered the fight for women's reproductive rights. My name is Kayla Tobias, and for the past couple of months, I have dedicated myself to researching the roles Margaret Sanger played in forming modern-day women's healthcare. Today, I will share with you much of what I have explored about Sanger's early years, her career as a nurse and activist, and analyze her use of rhetorical devices in her 1921 speech titled The Morality of Birth Control. Sanger was influenced by her experiences as a visiting nurse and daughter, watching her mother bear the physical toll of many pregnancies. According to the University of Hawaii, Sanger's mother was pregnant 18 times in 22 years. Unfortunately, she only had 11 live births, with the other 7 pregnancies ending in miscarriages. Sanger then watched her mother die at the young age of 49. Sanger came of age during the period of the Comstock Act, which made birth control a federal crime in the United States. According to PBS, in 1873, Congress passed a law that specifically defined contraceptives as illegal, making it a federal offense to distribute birth control through the mail or across state lines. Finding these actions outrageous, Sanger started actively challenging federal and state laws surrounding women, contraceptives, and freedom. With the Comstock laws in movement, Sanger's personal and professional life commenced as she turned her action into anger. Sanger would go on to launch her own feminist publication, open a birth control clinic, which is today known as Planned Parenthood, and continue to advocate for women's reproductive rights. According to Deborah Michaels, a writer for womenshistory.org, Sanger launched her feminist publication titled The Woman Rebel in 1914. The publication advocated for birth control, a term used to describe easy contraceptive, which Sanger had coined. According to the National Archives, the Woman Rebel began to inform women in articles titled such as The Prevention of Contraceptives and Are Preventative Means Injurious? Unfortunately, the Comstock laws remained enforced, making Sanger's actions illegal. She soon got arrested for spreading this information through the mail, resulting in Sanger fleeing the country. She was not to be discouraged. Instead, she challenged the attention of the United States government. By 1921, she founded the American Birth Control League, abbreviated as the ABCL. From there, the first American birth control conference was set in New York City. The New York University Margaret Sanger Papers Project revealed that the ABCL was established to offer an ambitious program of education, legislative reform, and research around birth control. The staff and board of directors of the ABCL had one main goal: to build a national organization with representation in every region of the country. At the first ABCL conference On November 18, 1921, Sanger delivered the Morality of Birth Control speech. A thesis paper written by Leslie M. Shappy at Iowa State University reveals that 5 days before Sanger was originally scheduled to deliver her same speech, she was arrested as the police raided the town hall. Sanger had one goal: to provide birth control, information, and effective contraceptive devices to women, specifically a contraceptive pill as easy to take as aspirin. To influence the public, Sanger continued to deliver speeches throughout her career. When making arguments and crafting her speeches, Sanger utilized rhetoric to effectively communicate and appeal to her audience in 3 different areas: logos, ethos, and pathos. The Morality of Birth Control speech was one of the many writings and speeches that Sanger would deliver in her discourse. She first uses ethos to establish credibility. According to the Indiana University Writing Center, ethos appeals to the source's character and can be thought of as the role of the source in the argument. Ethos is in the receiver's mind, meaning the power is in the audience to determine source credibility, the prestige of the reader, and personal proof. Sanger is quoted in the 1918 selected transcript from the New York University Margaret Sanger Papers Project, saying, "For 14 years, I worked as a nurse in the factory and tenement districts of New York City," and goes on to explain her experiences seeing the lives of poor immigrant women suffer trauma from $5 back alley abortions. She states another experience working as a nurse, saying, "I recall the deathbed scene when the patient, a woman of 26, passed away during the birth of her 7th child." Sanger established her credibility as a well-educated nurse, ultimately appealing to ethos. After establishing credibility among her audience, Sanger used language designed to elicit an emotional response. According to St. Louis Community College, writers and speakers desire a range of emotional responses, including sympathy, anger, frustration, or even amusement. In her Morality of Birth Control speech, Sanger says, "Another womanhood, blighted in the bud, battered by ignorance, another soul sunk in despair." The pathos is seen through these lines when Sanger describes women's position in society and uses language such as ignorance and despair, and accurately sets the scene and appeals to emotion. Using her individual stories, Sanger has a powerful appeal to her audience, which elicits and represents the realities of what the world continues to be like without effective birth control. Indeed, establishing trustworthiness and appealing to the audience's emotions is vital in persuasion. However, it is critical to use a rational mind and include logic and evidence when arguing about ample topics. According to St. Louis Community College, logos is when a writer or speaker includes facts and statistics to appeal to the audience's sense of reason or logic. In her speech, Sanger says, "These cases represent actual modern conditions. Our laws force women into celibacy on the one hand, or abortion on the other." Sanger says, "Both conditions are declared by eminent medical authorities to be injurious to health." She follows her stories by stating that medical authorities deemed these activities harmful. Sanger uses logic by asking why authority would further the world's suffering by making birth control impossible and illegal. Comparatively, rhetorical devices support Sanger's argument in the Morality of Birth Control speech. The most prominent example is the use of antithesis, which Professor Mac McGarty at the University of Washington explains as the pairing of contrasting words or ideas. When antithesis is used in the context of an argument, the way ideas are placed side by side can make it obvious which idea is better. In Sanger's speech, she uses repeated amplification of moral versus immoral and morality versus immorality. In an essay by Leslie M. Shappy at Iowa State University, Sanger repeats these words 22 times, which ultimately amplified and intensified her use of antithesis as a rhetorical construct. Though Sanger spoke out against the underlying American belief that contraceptive was vulgar, immoral, and promoted promiscuity, her character faces adverse credibility today. According to the Planned Parenthood website, Sanger believed in eugenics, a racist and ableist ideology that labeled certain people unfit to have children. According to a USA Today article, the negative ethos Sanger promotes is that though she aimed to fight for women's rights, she represents a racist who actively targeted minority communities because she did not value their lives. Planned Parenthood continues to face controversy over its founders' ethics. It goes as far as to state on the website that Margaret Sanger's racism and beliefs in eugenics are in direct opposition to Planned Parenthood's mission. Although Sanger's name has controversy in the present day, she actively led the movement to legalize birth control and make it universally available for women. The night of November 18, 1921, when Sanger delivered the morality of birth control speech, was just one milestone in her journey to achieving her dreams. In her speech, she utilized rhetoric through logos, ethos, and pathos, while also using antithesis to support her argument. Society uses rhetoric to analyze ideas, while also offering the tools to defend individual conceptions. Sanger dynamically used these devices and proved that no matter the argument, using rhetoric helps better communicate and appeal to an audience. Sanger lived to see the realization of the pill, which provided an effective and easy birth contraceptive to many women. Additionally, Sanger witnessed the Comstock laws that she once broke be undone at the age of 81. Sanger lived to see the day that the United States Supreme Court ruled that the private use of contraceptives was a constitutional right. Undoubtedly, Margaret Sanger was a powerful figure in gaining women's reproductive rights. She turned her personal tragedies into a duty, and her anger into action. The woman rebel and the creation of what is modern-day Planned Parenthood are just some of the ways Sanger fought to see her dream achieved. Sanger remains a memorable and impactful figure in history due to her personal journeys as a nurse and daughter, in conjunction with her rebel attitude. To conclude, Sanger was influential through her use of ethos, logos, pathos, and the rhetorical device antithesis to get her message across effectively. Sanger died knowing she won the battle. However, the battle is still being fought. It is important we remember that though many women today have access to contraceptives, millions live without a single health center offering the full range of methods they have rights to. It is our time to continue fighting for easy access to birth control and our own fertility, just like Sanger did nearly 100 years ago.